Good morning, class. It is Wednesday, March 25th at about 10:30 a.m. I have a meeting at 11, but then once I'm finished recording this, I'll start uploading it to YouTube. So, a couple of announcements for today. The first one being is that I'm almost done with your drafts. I planned to have those done, as I mentioned previously, by today or tomorrow at the latest, and I'm still working to get that schedule. I guarantee that you will have your draft by at least the time we would have met if we were still meeting in person. For example, if you were in the 11 o'clock section of this course of 201, you will have your draft back by 11 a.m. tomorrow at the latest. I just lost a lot of time on Monday when Moodle went down. It went down in the afternoon, and then I didn't have the ability to access your drafts to grade them. So I'm playing catch up, and it's been very hectic because of Moodle going down. But either way, you will have your paper back by that time. So what we would have done in person is you would have had the opportunity to do a paper workshop, ask me questions about your paper as part of that Thursday meeting. And we're still going to do that, and I'll speak on that in a second here. But essentially, I'm almost done with your papers. They're looking good. I just noticed some of us waited until the last minute, and I understand there's a lot of this is a very bizarre time with us transitioning online, but you should have been working on this paper before we transitioned online. So a lot of these papers came together at the last minute, it appeared. So you will need to do a good amount of work to make a strong final draft of this paper. But that's up to you, and how much effort you put in. That's the grade you get out of it in terms of what it is you need to do. So, I'll speak more about in an email update about some resources to use, and I'll post that tomorrow on how to improve your writing. There's a lot of passive voice in your papers, which also indicates waiting until the last minute. So you'll need to remove the majority of your passive voice in your papers. Now, you all took English 141 and 142, right? So you know how to do that. And you'll need to do that for this. The grammatical issues are pretty noticeable in these drafts, and I didn't take off for grammar in a rough draft because I don't want to harm your grade in that way. But in the final draft, this will need to be edited and submitted, with edits and things like that. So, um, thinking about that, I'll post some resources on how to fix your writing and things like that. Which leads me to the next point, right? Is that instead of having you do half of a music analysis and discussion kind of assignment and then half of the time spent on a workshop, is that we are going to devote the whole time, hypothetically, if we were meeting in class, I would have done this, to a paper workshop now. Is that we do have a lot of work to do on these papers before the end of April when they're due, in the sense that I want to see a stronger thesis statement for a lot of you. Is that while reading your drafts, you may have said, I'm going to talk about Hawaiian music and how it became popular once again in 1950. There's no argument about that, right? You just jump into the discussion without presenting an argument that is tethered to primary and secondary source research. So you need to remember that your narrative is about presenting an argument related to your story, and that you need to use the core sub-themes to help guide what it is you want to say. So maybe with this Hawaiian music example, right, you would say Hawaiian music during the 1950s represented issues of race and ethnicity, because that's a core sub-theme, during a time when civil rights demonstrations start to heat up in the 1950s, right? So Hawaii becomes a state after World War II, and Elvis popularizes Hawaiian music, as we know, once again, with his movies and his songs and all of that, and then other artists start to do that. And maybe in your research, you notice this interesting kind of correlation between the civil rights movement, the early, kinds of actions of MLK, right, Rosa Parks, the NAACP, different groups, the SLCC, and that there's this interesting connection, let's say, that you want to make between that. So you would be arguing that, right? And supporting that through primary source research and then also secondary source research. I need to see more of that in the final drafts. And I need to see a stronger argument from you all. You need to really, wow me, if you will, with the strength of your thesis statement. So I'll post some resources about how to build a strong thesis statement, but you all know by now, right, how to do a thesis statement. You present an argument, and you can even say in history papers, we have no problem with using the personal pronoun I. I argue that, or this paper argues that, blah, 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 because blah, 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 right? Is that you would say, I am arguing this about this topic, and here's the evidence I have to support that argument. Then your body paragraphs of your paper will go through reinforcing that argument with those specific examples. So a lot of us need to do that for the final draft. So thesis statement and some, grammatical issues will need to be fixed. And then just the amount of evidence. Some of you, it appears, still have some research to do in terms of finding sources, right? And again, I'm here to help. Just email me, and I can find resources for you. Use the Library of Congress, use the National Archives, use the Tiffin Library. All of these things are digitized. YouTube, right, has songs posted. Is that now that we are online, it becomes even easier because you're going to be doing this on the computer anyways, at home or wherever. And so, finding sources will not be an issue if you just put in the time. So, how much time? I've been talking for a while now. It's been about 7 minutes. So, what we'll do is I'll post this video, and then I have to go to a meeting, and I'll continue to grade these. You'll get your comments back, but most of the comments are going to be the same, I've noticed, in the sense of we need a stronger thesis statement, we need more evidence, and we need to see how this evidence relates both to the core sub-themes and to the thesis statement, and then just the minor grammatical kinds of issues. And one final thing is that, and I mentioned this in your exams, but if you do raise an argument, make sure that you're supporting that argument. It's it's not funny, but it's just kind of, I don't know the word, ironic, or it's funny, is that sometimes you all will raise this really riveting argument, right? About this topic. It's very strong. I'm like, wow, this is an excellent thesis statement. And then your body paragraph is proving the complete opposite of it. So you're contradicting your own argument. And that just shows me that, there's a lot of rushing going on in this writing, is that we're rushing through these things. So I'll get this posted and then we'll move forward from there. And your entire time, the hour and 15 minutes, quote unquote, that we would have spent in person would have been spent in a paper workshop now. So no analysis and response due tomorrow, but you will need to email me a question, or, hey, can you help me in this aspect? Or I don't really understand what you mean that I need more primary sources because I have 10 of them. Are these not good primary sources, right? Or something like that. And then email me, post a question, and we'll kind of have a dialogue about that. And that's all you'll be doing is basically doing a paper workshop, doing more research, finding more sources, honing in your thesis statement, really, developing this, because it's going to be due in about a month, and it's worth a substantial amount of your grade, as you know, right? So just make sure that you're doing what you have to do, and I understand. And I'm being very, understanding here when I say I understand, because this is difficult for us all doing this online transition. But we should have been working on these papers before the online transition, so then the drafts would be strong, and then between the drafts and the final drafts, you wouldn't have a lot of work to do. But since maybe we waited until the last minute, some of these drafts need a good amount of reworking to be considered a strong paper in the final draft, which maybe, you aren't interested in getting an A on the final draft. And even though this roughly translates to about 50% of your grade, you're saying, okay, well, I've gotten an A on everything else, so I'll take the hit on I don't know. That's up to you, but you should all be striving for an A grade. So if you have any questions, email me. I'll post this to Moodle. And then just, again, to recap, no analysis and response due tomorrow. Instead, you will need to be spending all of your time doing a kind of workshop day on your drafts, doing more research or editing the grammar or those things. So have a good day. I'll get this posted and then send out an announcement once the captions get generated. Have a good day.